radio stations pulling records off the air, preachers denouncing songs from the pulpit, albums wrapped in packaging that got seized by the government. The 1970s didn't just give us great music, it gave us songs that sparked debates, crossed lines, and made people uncomfortable. Here are 12 controversial songs that defined the 70s. Number 12, School's Out by Alice Cooper. When Alice Cooper released this anthem in April 1972, parents and educators immediately saw red. The song celebrated the end of the school year with such unbridled joy that many adults worried it would inspire kids to rebel against education itself. Some radio stations banned it, claiming it gave students ideas about skipping class, or worse. The controversy went far beyond the song itself. Christian morality campaigner Mary Whitehouse in the United Kingdom successfully convinced the BBC to ban the video. She believed the theatrical shock rocker was a bad influence on children. Cooper sent her flowers in gratitude, because the publicity helped push the song to number 1 in the UK for 3 weeks in August 1972. The album packaging added fuel to the fire. Designed to look like a school desk that opened up, the record was wrapped in paper panties. The Federal Trade Commission stepped in and seized copies because the panties weren't fireproof, violating the Flammable Fabrics Act. About 250,000 albums had already been distributed before the ban. Cooper later joked that getting banned was the best thing that could have happened, turning those seized albums into valuable collectibles. Despite, or perhaps because of, all the controversy, the song reached number 7 on the Billboard Hot 100 and became Cooper's signature hit. It marked the first time Alice Cooper was seen as more than just a novelty act. The song's success proved that sometimes the best publicity comes from people trying to stop you. Number 11, Brown Sugar by the Rolling Stones. Released in April 1971 as the lead single from Sticky Fingers, this song pushed boundaries that made many radio programmers deeply uncomfortable. Mick Jagger's lyrics referenced slavery, interracial relationships, and drug use in ways that couldn't be ignored. Several U.S. stations pulled it from their playlists immediately. The controversy didn't slow the song down. It topped the Billboard Hot 100 for 2 weeks and remained a stadium staple for decades. Jagger recorded the song in 2 days at Muscle Shoals Sound Studio in Alabama, with the legendary session work capturing a raw energy that matched the provocative subject matter. Radio stations that did play the song often received complaints from listeners who found the content offensive. Some programmers tried to justify playing it by focusing on the music rather than the meaning. The driving guitar riff and infectious rhythm made it impossible to ignore commercially, even for stations that had moral reservations. The song became one of the Stones' most performed tracks in concert for years. In recent tours, however, Jagger has retired it from the setlist, acknowledging that times have changed and some of the imagery hasn't aged well. The song remains a snapshot of an era when rock bands could release material that would spark genuine outrage and still achieve massive commercial success. Number 10, Walk on the Wild Side by Lou Reed. Take a walk on the wild side, I said, baby. Lou Reed's 1972 solo breakthrough told stories about the colorful characters from Andy Warhol's factory scene in New York. The song openly discussed transgender identities, prostitution, and drug use, topics that mainstream radio typically avoided completely. Many daytime playlists refused to touch it.
Says, hey babe, take a walk on the wild side.
What made the song remarkable was how it slipped past some censors. The references were frank, but delivered in Reed's deadpan vocal style over a smooth, jazzy arrangement. Some programmers apparently didn't catch the meaning of all the references on first listen. By the time they realized what Reed was singing about, the song was already gaining traction.
Oh, honey, you take a walk on the wild side.
FM underground stations championed the track, giving it heavy rotation. The song peaked at number 16 on the Billboard Hot 100, proving that niche support could overcome mainstream censorship. College radio and progressive rock stations made it a staple, finding an audience that appreciated Reed's unflinching honesty.
The colored girls go do-do-do, do-do, do-do-do, do-do-do, do-do.
The backing vocals featured the phrase that some stations found particularly problematic. Despite the controversy, or again, because of it, the song became Reed's biggest commercial success as a solo artist. It introduced his work to listeners who might never have discovered his music through his earlier band, the Velvet Underground. The song demonstrated that taboo subjects could find an audience when presented with musical sophistication.
Baby, you take a walk on the wild side.
Number 9. Lola by the Kinks.
She said, Lola, hello, hello.
The BBC banned this 1970 hit, but surprisingly, it wasn't because of the gender-bending storyline about a romantic encounter with a transgender woman. The problem was much more mundane. Ray Davies sang about drinking champagne that tasted like Coca-Cola. The BBC's strict policy against mentioning brand names meant the song couldn't get airplay in the United Kingdom.
La, 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 la.
Davies had to fly back from an American tour to re-record one word. He changed it to Cherry Cola, and the BBC allowed the song to be played. The edited version became the one most British listeners heard, while the original continued to air in America. Despite the fuss over product placement, many conservative listeners were troubled by the subject matter. The song told the story of a young man's encounter at a club who realizes his romantic interest isn't what he initially assumed. Davies handled the revelation with surprising acceptance for 1970, but that didn't stop some stations from removing it from rotation.
Why she walk like a woman but talk like a man, oh my lord.
The controversy only spiced public interest. The single hit number 2 in Britain despite the initial ban. In America, it reached number 9 on the Billboard Hot 100. The song remains one of the Kinks' most beloved tracks, celebrated for its catchy chorus and surprisingly progressive attitude toward gender and identity.
For my Lola, la 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 la.
Number 8. The Pill by Loretta Lynn. When Loretta Lynn released this song in 1975, country radio erupted. The song celebrated the freedom that birth control gave to married women who didn't want more children. 60 radio stations across America immediately banned it. A preacher in West Liberty, Kentucky, devoted an entire sermon to condemning both Lynn and the song.
Chicken your last time, 'cause now I've got the pill.
Lynn's record label had been nervous about releasing it. They held the song for 3 years after it was recorded in 1972, finally releasing it in 1975. Their fears were justified. The backlash was immediate and fierce. Conservative country music fans saw the song as an attack on family values and traditional marriage.
For all those years since I've got the pill.
The Grand Ole Opry held a 3-hour meeting to discuss whether Lynn should be allowed to perform it on their stage. Lynn later told Playgirl magazine that if they had banned her from singing it, she would have told them to shove the Grand Ole Opry. The Opry ultimately allowed her to perform it, and she sang it 3 times in one night.
Yeah, make it up for all those years since I've got the pill.
The ban backfired spectacularly. People magazine reported that the preacher's sermon sent much of his congregation rushing out to buy the record. The song sold 15,000 copies a week, even without airplay from those 60 stations. It reached number 5 on the Billboard Hot Country Songs chart and became Lynn's highest charting pop single, peaking at number 70 on the Hot 100.
Turn down your brooder house, 'cause now I've got the pill.
Doctors, particularly those in rural areas, thanked Lynn for spreading awareness about birth control. The song did more to highlight the availability of the pill in isolated communities than any official public health campaign. Lynn, who had 6 children by age 24, spoke openly about how she would have used birth control if it had been available to her. The controversy cemented the song as one of her most important and enduring hits.
Chicken your last time, 'cause now I've got the pill.
Number 7. Imagine by John Lennon.
Imagine all the people.
Released in October 1971, this peaceful piano ballad seemed harmless enough. John Lennon's vision of a world without war, hunger, or division resonated with millions. But one particular line, imagining a world with no religion, got the song banned in South Africa under the apartheid government.
Living life in peace.
The South African government saw the anti-religion sentiment as dangerous and subversive. Official channels refused to import or play the record. Bootleg cassette tapes spread it anyway, passing from hand to hand among people who saw the song as an anthem for change and unity.
Imagine all the people.
Some American radio stations also hesitated to play the song, particularly in conservative religious communities. The idea of a world without heaven or hell troubled programmers who worried about offending their audiences. These concerns faded over time as the song's message of peace became harder to argue against.
I hope someday you'll join us.
The song reached number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 1 in several other countries. It became Lennon's most successful solo single and grew into something larger than just a hit record. Over the decades, it transformed into a global anthem for peace, played at rallies, memorials, and moments of collective grief around the world.
Sharing all the world.
The attempted bans ultimately meant nothing. The song's message proved too powerful to suppress. Political censorship rarely lasts when the work being censored speaks to universal human hopes. Today, it stands as one of the most beloved songs in popular music history, showing that controversy can't stop a message whose time has come.
Imagine no possessions.
Number 6. Love to Love, You Baby by Donna Summer. Donna Summer's breakthrough hit in 1975 pushed disco into controversial territory. The 17-minute album version featured Summer's breathy moans and groans throughout, leading many radio stations to refuse to play it. Critics called it too sexually explicit for broadcast. The song was recorded in Munich with producer Giorgio Moroder, who encouraged Summer to perform as if she were acting in a film. Summer later said she was embarrassed by the session and initially didn't want to release it. When the recording made its way to Neil Bogart at Casablanca Records, he heard a hit and convinced Summer to let him release it. Conservative stations banned it immediately. Some programmers who did play it received angry phone calls from listeners who felt the song crossed the line from suggestive to explicit. The controversy extended beyond radio. Some nightclubs hesitated to play it despite the growing disco scene. The ban only boosted the song's popularity. The shorter radio edit reached number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100, kept from the top spot only by KC and the Sunshine Band. The full album version became a sensation in nightclubs, where the extended runtime fit perfectly into DJ sets. The song launched Summer's career and proved that disco could handle adult themes. It opened doors for more provocative dance music throughout the late 70s. What scandalized listeners in 1975 became standard practice in dance music within just a few years, showing how quickly cultural attitudes can shift. Number 5. Money by Pink Floyd. From the Dark Side of the Moon, in 1973, this song faced censorship over a single word. Roger Waters wrote the song as sharp social commentary about greed and capitalism, setting it in an unusual 7/4-time signature with a distinctive bass line. The word that caused problems was mild by today's standards. But some stations in 1973 found it objectionable enough to cut or avoid entirely. The song's sound effects, cash registers ringing, coins clinking, made it instantly recognizable. David Gilmour's guitar solo became one of the most celebrated instrumental passages in progressive rock. The song worked as both social criticism and as a funky, radio-friendly single. Stations that censored the word often did so clumsily, creating an awkward gap in the music. Some played it late at night when language standards were looser. Progressive rock stations played it in full, treating the censorship as unnecessary prudishness.
So they say.
Despite the scattered bans, the song became one of Pink Floyd's signature tracks and a staple of classic rock radio. It reached number 13 on the Billboard Hot 100, an impressive showing for a progressive rock band known more for albums than singles. The song proved that complex music with social messages could still find commercial success. The censorship issue faded over time as standards changed. Today, the song plays unedited on most stations, and younger listeners are often surprised to learn it was ever controversial at all. It remains a powerful example of how Pink Floyd could make thought-provoking music that also worked as a catchy single. Number 4, Let's Spend the Night Together by the Rolling Stones. When the Rolling Stones appeared on The Ed Sullivan Show in January 1967 to promote this single, Sullivan insisted Mick Jagger change the suggestive title line to something more appropriate for family viewing. Jagger reluctantly agreed to sing "Let's Spend Some Time Together" on the broadcast, rolling his eyes theatrically while doing so. The compromise satisfied Sullivan barely enough to let the performance go forward. Jagger's eye-rolling made it clear what he thought of the censorship. Many viewers understood that he was singing the actual words and just mumbling over the key phrase. Sullivan banned the Stones from ever appearing on his show again. Radio stations across America faced similar dilemmas. The sexual invitation in the title was too direct for many programmers in 1967. Conservative stations refused to play it, while more progressive stations embraced it. The geographical divide was clear. Coastal cities played it, while stations in the Bible Belt avoided it. The controversy helped drive sales. The song reached number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100 despite the ban from many stations. It became a concert staple, and one of the band's most performed songs over the decades. The censorship attempt now seems quaint, but at the time it represented a real cultural battle over what was acceptable in popular music. The Stones used the controversy to cement their image as dangerous rebels, in contrast to the more polished Beatles. The willingness to push boundaries sexually became part of their brand. Every attempt to censor them only made them more appealing to young listeners, who saw the bands as evidence that the music was genuinely rebellious. Number 3, Kodachrome by Paul Simon. Paul Simon's nostalgic tribute to Kodak film stock from his 1973 album, There's Something About the Mary, ran into BBC trouble for an unexpected reason. The BBC's policy banned songs that mentioned protected trademarks or brand names. Even though the entire song was a loving tribute to the photography company, it couldn't get UK radio exposure. Simon had written the song as a celebration of vibrant memories and the way photographs capture moments in vivid color. The specific mention of Kodachrome, a trademarked color film process, made it unplayable under BBC rules. No amount of artistic merit could overcome the policy. American stations had no such restrictions. The song climbed to number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100, becoming one of Simon's biggest solo hits. The catchy melody and Simon's warm vocal performance made it a favorite among listeners who connected with its themes of memory and nostalgia. The BBC's ban seemed particularly silly given that the song was essentially free advertising for Kodak. The company certainly didn't mind the exposure in countries where the song received airplay. The rule was applied without consideration for context. Any brand mentioned triggered the ban, regardless of how it was used. The song has endured as one of Simon's most beloved tracks. When Kodak discontinued Kodachrome film in 2009, the song took on new poignancy as a memorial to a technology that had shaped visual memory for generations. The BBC eventually relaxed its rules, but by then the damage was done. British listeners had missed out on a great song during its initial release. Number 2. I Don't Like Mondays by the Boomtown Rats. This 1979 hit became controversial for its subject matter, a school shooting in San Diego that had occurred earlier that year. Bob Geldof wrote the song after reading a telex report about 16-year-old Brenda Ann Spencer, who had opened fire on an elementary school, killing 2 adults and injuring 8 children and a police officer. When asked why she did it, she reportedly said she didn't like Mondays and wanted to liven up the day. American radio stations, particularly in California, pulled the song from playlists. The shooting was too recent and too tragic for many programmers to feel comfortable playing a song about it. Families of victims found the song exploitative. Critics argued that Geldof had turned a horrific event into entertainment.
Tell me why I don't like Mondays. Tell me why.
Geldof defended the song as a commentary on the senselessness of violence and the inadequate explanations often given for terrible acts. He saw the shooter's flippant answer as revealing something disturbing about modern society. The song wasn't celebrating violence, it was trying to understand the incomprehensible.
The telex machine is kept so clean and it types to a wait.
In the UK and Europe, where the shooting hadn't dominated news coverage, the song faced less resistance. It went to number 1 in the UK and became the Boomtown Rats' biggest international hit. The driving rhythm and Geldof's passionate vocal performance made it impossible to ignore musically.
Tell me why I don't like Mondays. Tell me why I don't.
The controversy faded as time passed, but the song remained a powerful statement on violence and alienation. Decades later, as school shootings became tragically more common, the song took on renewed relevance. What seemed like an isolated incident in 1979 became part of a pattern that would haunt American society for generations.
Tell me why I don't like Mondays. Tell me why I don't.
Number 1. A Day in the Life by the Beatles.
I saw a film today, oh boy.
The final track on Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band faced a BBC ban in May 1967. The organization worried that certain lines in John Lennon's verses referenced drug use, particularly the phrase about holes and the surreal quality of the narrative. The BBC deemed it unsuitable for broadcast.
Having read the book.
The ban was particularly significant because the BBC was the primary way British listeners discovered new music in 1967. Being blocked from Radio 1 meant the song couldn't reach the massive audience that tuned in daily. The Beatles' fame meant people heard it anyway, through album purchases, but the ban still stung.
Fell out of bed, dragged a comb across my.
American stations were split. Some played it freely, while others avoided it out of concern about the drug references. The song's complex structure, with its orchestral crescendo and dramatic shifts in tone, made it unlike anything else on the radio at the time. Some programmers simply didn't know what to make of it.
Somebody spoke and I went into a dream.
The irony was that Lennon and Paul McCartney had created one of their most ambitious and artistic works. The orchestral buildup, recorded by bringing in 40 musicians and asking them to start at their lowest note, and gradually rise to their highest, was a groundbreaking recording technique. The song pushed the boundaries of what could be done in a recording studio.
I read the news today, oh boy.
The band ultimately didn't matter. The album became one of the best-selling and most influential records of all time. The song is now regarded as one of the Beatles' masterpieces, regularly appearing on lists of the greatest songs ever recorded. The BBC eventually lifted the ban, though they never officially announced it. The song simply started appearing on playlists. The attempted censorship became just another footnote in the song's legendary status.
I saw a film today, oh boy.
These songs didn't just push boundaries, they redrew them. Radio bans, government seizures, and pulpit condemnations couldn't stop people from hearing music that spoke to them, challenged them, or made them think differently. The controversy that surrounded these tracks in the 70s now seems like a badge of honor, proof that the music mattered enough to make people uncomfortable. If you enjoyed this look back at the songs that sparked debates and crossed lines, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the music that shaped our lives. Thanks for watching.